There were two telling exchanges in last night's debate, and I want to focus on them in a moment because they have the potential to turn this election race if people focus on them. But first, let me just observe that much of the media will not focus on these issues. They'll ignore them, and instead they'll pretend that Peter Dutton denied climate change last night, which he clearly did not, or they'll focus on how he admitted misspeaking about the Russia and Indonesia defence dealings when the issue he highlights there is deadly serious and Labor is all at sea on it. So watch out for the media running with the sideshows to attack Dutton and the coalition as a smokescreen for the fundamentals that matter. Which brings me to, I think, the most important exchange of the night. We all have to remember now, of course, how Albanese and Labor won their way into office. They did it by attacking Scott Morrison, sure, but also by promising to reduce the cost of living and lower mortgages, neither of which they've done, of course. And importantly, they focused on electricity prices.
Reducing power prices by $275.
Reducing power prices by $275.
By 2025, $275 a year.
$275 a year.
We'll get power prices down by $275 a year.
$275 for the average house, lower in 2025 than today.
So that was the promise, and none of you need reminding about that. Albanese should be harangued every day for breaking that promise. But at least last night he was asked about where electricity prices might go in the future.
You and Chris Bowen keep saying that renewables are the cheapest form of power. When will we see our power bills come down?
They are. Well, what we know is that renewables are the cheapest form of power, not because of what we say, but because of what the Australian Energy Market Operator says.
So when do the bills come down?
And what the market is delivering. See, Peter has to have government, state, taxpayer funded.
Just stick with your plan, Mr Albanese. When will the bills come down?
Under our plan, we know that renewables are the cheapest form of power, and that is why we are doing that, rolling it out, including through gas. Peter raised gas. Gas is now $13. It was $30.
And when does it get cheaper?
When we came off, 13 is cheaper than 30.
When do we see the bills come down?
Well, what we need to do is to roll out renewables, make sure there's energy security, make sure it's backed up by batteries, by hydro and by gas.
5 times. He was asked 5 times when prices would come down and he refused to answer. He didn't even attempt to answer that crucial question. And the ABC host David Spears just moved on, of course. 5 times refusing to answer a crucial question about power prices, one that's critical to the future of this nation, of course. High power prices, record power prices, are hurting households, they're slamming small businesses, and they're forcing industries offshore and, of course, pushing up the price of just about everything. Yet Labor promised to reduce them by $275 a year, but seen them go up by about 4 or 5 times that amount. And the very policies that it said would push prices down, well, it's doubling down on them now and pretending that this time it'll get a different result. This is national self-harm on a grand scale, and it's reason enough on its own to disqualify this government from re-election. But the other telling exchange related to honesty. Remember, this is a Prime Minister who fell off a stage during this campaign and then denied it.
Photos with everyone, okay?
I stepped back 1 step. I didn't fall off the stage. Just one leg went down, but I was sweet.
Now, that porky gave us an insight into truthfulness on something that's very trivial. Last night, we got an insight into truthfulness on a significant policy issue.
Anthony, your government has modelled negative gearing changes and CGT changes.
Well,
the Treasurer has done that.
That's not right.
Well, it is
public service.
Right.
Well, under our public service, we actually value the public service, and we value them coming up with ideas and doing assessments. That's what's happened.
I can't
but
believe,
I have
David,
been very clear. I have been very clear about what our position is and why that is the case.
Was it modelled?
It certainly wasn't commissioned by us to do so.
It was modelled by the government. It was that's publicly available. This Prime Minister has a problem with the truth, and it's not just in relation to this debate. There are many aspects that you could pick up during the course of this campaign.
This is extraordinary. The Prime Minister caught out stone cold, pushing a furphy in an election debate, and he and the Treasurer were spinning like crazy to get themselves out of it today.
Can you honestly say that the government never asked Treasury to look at negative gearing?
No, look, it is normal process. As I said last night, we have a public service that we encourage to engage, and if an issue's out there, getting advice from it.
That there is a difference between commissioning modelling, which is what the PM was asked about last night, and getting advice from the Treasury, getting views from the Treasury on issues that are in the public domain.
Was this unsolicited?
No, I said last year, and I've said on a number of occasions now, that I sought a view. Now, that's different to commissioning modelling. The Prime Minister was asked about commissioning modelling. I sought a view.
Wow. The PM claims he wasn't lying because rather than ask for modelling on negative gearing, Labor just got it after Treasury thought of it. But today, Chalmers argued the PM wasn't lying because it wasn't modelling, confirming that, in fact, he had sought this advice. These blokes haven't got their story straight.
We actually value the public service, and we value them coming up with ideas and doing assessments. That's what's happened.
Was this unsolicited?
No, I said last year, and I've said on a number of occasions now, that I sought a view.
Aha. They both say the Prime Minister wasn't lying, but they've actually contradicted themselves about why. So they're both lying. Glorious stuff. Albanese and Chalmers caught up in a web of their own spin on negative gearing changes. So what does this mean about the substance of the issue? Doesn't this mean that negative gearing changes remain a policy goal that Labor shares with the Greens?
Do you rule out meeting the Greens' demands on negative gearing if you have to negotiate?
I rule out negotiating with the Greens. That's even further for you. I rule out. I have responded to that lots of times.
Again?
Well, you can ask again and you get the same answer. We have our housing policy that we are taking forward. The Greens, I am not negotiating with the Greens. We make it very clear. And what's more, the Greens have said the one non-negotiable thing that they have, by the way, is that they won't support Peter Dutton.
Yeah, the debate fallout for the Prime Minister and his government is pretty horrible today. His honesty under question and his broken promise on electricity prices exposed. Yet there were plenty in the media who said the Prime Minister won the debate. Go figure. Others said there was nothing to see here.
They both stuck to their core messages. Peter Dutton made the point of asking, are you better off than you were 3 years ago? Anthony Albanese said, Australians have done the heavy lifting during the past 3 years. We've turned the corner as a nation and now is not the time to change leadership. As for the rest, you've been hearing most of it for the past 3 weeks, so you're good to go to bed.
Dear, oh dear, hey. Off to bed you go. The ABC's got this election all sorted. I wonder who they're rooting for. That tells you all you need to know, of course, about the ABC and the broader election coverage.